Wendy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm better now. Hello, listeners.
Hello.
Hi. This is the Creatures of the Night podcast, and I have something to tell you. This is big, big time news.
What is it?
I saw a moose.
It has happened.
It has happened! Actually, I didn't just see one. I saw three. Three moose.
Shit.
It's so funny when I finally saw, the moose, and I was like, oh, they do exist. Do you remember that commercial that would play around Christmas time, and it's like the peanut M&Ms, and they're like, it's Santa, he does, and Santa's like, they do. It's like everyone's having this big revelation. Like, that was me with the moose.
Do you think the moose felt the same way?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. So we took our Ford, which it's got some noises to it. We took it up to Errol, New Hampshire. We went camping. But we use the Ford because it's also got like the racks for the kayaks. My husband's been using it as his fishing vehicle, so it's not in as pristine of a condition as it used to be when I drove the Ford. Needless to say. So it's perfect for camping. So we loaded up. We went camping. The point of our camping trip was to spot a moose. Now, it's July. It's not prime moose season whatsoever. So, we would have been lucky had we seen a moose. Goddamn, we got lucky. We saw a moose. But before we did, we went all the way up to Pittsburgh. We went to Moose Alley. We searched high and low for these elusive moose. Didn't see one sign. Got some nice kayaking in. Got to see some great trails in some very rural parts of New Hampshire. Saw some coyotes, saw some eagles, saw lots of wildlife. Didn't see any moose. My husband was like on a mission. We were out late. I was like, let's go back to the campsite. I am tired. So we did. We went back to the campsite. I did actually grill up like one of the juiciest steaks I've ever grilled on my little camping grill. And I know that that's because I actually had the time to sit down and actually grill the steak. When I'm at home and I'm grilling steaks, I'm also running up and down the stairs because all of my other kitchen stuff is upstairs, like making potatoes or fries or vegetables, what have you. My camping grill is small, but at camp, those were some juicy steaks. So, juicy steaks, slept good. We got up at the ass crack of dawn to go out moose hunting. And it's misty. It is like prime morning for spotting a moose, right? Like you just know it. You feel it deep in your bones. We're going to see that moose. And we come around the corner, and I don't remember if I was getting hot or if I was getting cold, but I was in the shift of taking off or putting on my fleece. So my camera wasn't in my hand, is what I'm trying to say. I wasn't prepared. I had just put it down. And Brandon says, shit, what the hell is that? And he's pointing. And of course, I see all this in slow motion, right? I'm looking back up from my shift in clothes, and I just see this large black mass in the middle of the road in the mist staring right at us. And he pulls the Ford off to the side of the road. My Ford's like, ka-clank, 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 ka-clank. So we now call it the wildlife preserver because I'm sure that's why he stopped in the road. He's like, what in the hell is that? Am I about to get abducted by aliens? What is that noise? He pulls it over to the side of the road. I pick up the phone just in time to get a short snippet of him, dashing away, right? I also got a picture of him at the same time. My phone does both. But I wasn't quick enough to catch there was a baby moose with mama moose. So there was another one that ran right behind. I was like, oh my God, we saw it. We did it. My husband and I were high-fiving in the car. I'm like, yes, they do exist. Now we just got to find Bigfoot, I was so
stoked. He's got to be
right
there.
Yeah, he's got to be right around the same spot. It was so misty. He's got to be around here somewhere. So I send the picture. I was so excited. And we weren't in like the best area, like Wi-Fi or whatever, like the internet was just not great. So I sent a picture to you. I sent a picture to my dad. I don't know when my dad actually got it. I don't even know when you actually got it. It just seemed like it took forever. But my dad finally responds, and he's like, ha ha, nice cardboard cutout. He thought I was... He thought I was making a prank. It was a hoax. And I'm like, no, this is for real, my Bigfoot picture. Hang on. And I had to get the video, and I had to send him the video. I'm like, see, it moves. It moves.
That's a pretty elaborate prank you would be playing on somebody. Because that's going to be a large cutout of a beast. that you
Yeah.
put in the road, drive down the road, to take the photo.
I know I'm not that prepared for anything, as Wendy knows, right? Never am I that prepared. So we debate for a minute if we should continue on and go up back to Moose Alley. And I'm like, I don't want to ruin this. We already saw the moose. Why drive for another 3 hours and not see another moose? Let's just enjoy the rest of our camping trip. Let's go kayaking. Let's go exploring. So we did. We ended up coming home later in the day. And now I'm back in Dover, New Hampshire. And it's very far away from the Canadian border. Where I was, it was pretty close. It was like, hi, there it is. There's Canadian border. Now I'm back home. It's not so close. And there's never any moose spottings around here. Really, there's not. No moose. But we come around the corner, getting off the interstate, and we're driving over this bridge, and I see a line of people standing on the bridge. I start thinking, like, what are they looking at fireworks? Because this is 4th of July weekend. Maybe there's something going on over there. I look out my window. We are not even 3 minutes away from my house. There's a damn moose.
You are
right
fucking
there.
lying to me.
I am not lying.
I saw that picture. Did you say that on your Instagram page? I didn't even read it. I thought they were just your pictures from your camping. And I was like, oh, she saw another one later in the day. Oh, that's nice.
Nope. It was crazy. So Brandon parks at the 7-Eleven that's right around the corner. We run over there. Both of us are dying laughing like we look like two drunk idiots because we just cannot believe that this is happening. We get over there. People are like lined up like, wow, it's a moose. You never see one. And I'm like, no, I saw 2 today. I saw 2. This is the 3rd one. But we just came basically from Canada where we saw 2 moose. And we're dying laughing. This one I got to take a selfie with. But, it's like just a dark spot behind me because it's pretty far away. But Brandon's like, well, we saw 3 moose. These are super elusive. Let's buy lottery tickets. We're on a streak. That's where our luck ended. There was no winnings.
Shit.
I know, but it was so epic, Wendy. Here I am. How many podcasts have I actually said moose do not exist? I will see a unicorn before I see a moose. And in one day, I saw trace moose.
I cannot believe that. Like, okay, you said you were going to go to a spot that I'm sure Brandon researched the hell out of. And he was like, this is where they're at. Yep. I guarantee you. That's why he was so determined. So I'm like, shit, she's going to do it. She's going to see him this weekend. It's going to be amazing. I cannot believe that you went back to your house, though. And you're like, no, what's the commotion in the street?
Right. What are you guys looking at? What the hell?
That's fucking wild.
And I'm the crazy one because I get so excited about stuff like this, but people are at the light, right? Now they see all of us looking over, this bridge, and they're like, what are you looking at? Like yelling. Yeah. And I'm just like, moose! Like pointing and screaming, like, there's a moose!
This was like every moment when we were at Yellowstone. Every time you saw somebody pulled over on the side of the street, you're like pulling up, slamming on the brakes, getting out of the car. What is it? And they'll be like, an elk. Oh, I saw a dozen of those already. I'm good. You get back in the car.
My list is full of elk currently. Thank you. Find me something nice to put on my list.
Yeah. Let me know when it's a bear, wolf, moose.
Yeah, it was just incredible because, like I said, we've been here for 7 years. I've seen a bear in the neighborhood, and moose were just one of those things that you feel like you should see at some point living here. But I'd never seen one. It just didn't happen. It made news because it's such a rarity here in Dover for there to be a moose. So it was headlines for we don't have shit else going on in Dover,
No, don't you knock this. This is a big deal. This should have taken the lead on anything else that was going on.
National news.
Yeah.
We have to interrupt this COVID break to bring you moose news.
Who cares?
From Dover.
That's been going on for months. This is a big deal. I mean, I think that they could have came on and said that they found life on Mars or something. And I'd still be like, no, but did you hear? There was a moose.
There was a moose.
Right around the corner from Chris's house.
Right around the corner, man. I was so shocked. And he's the one who's like, we didn't even have to go all the way out.
I was waiting for that to come out of your mouth.
Yeah. He was like, dude, I did all that driving. I'm like, yeah, but it was fun. Come on. We got to kayak in some places we wouldn't normally get to kayak. Come on. It's all about the exploration. He's like, no, I want my hours back.
But you had a good steak and got some fresh
I enjoyed it. I'm just one that doesn't find herself bored often. I seem to entertain myself easily. So I was going to enjoy this trip no matter what. The moose just made it real. It actually brought it to life for me. So yes, moose do exist. I have proof. If you ever want to see that, the moose video will be up on Instagram for a short time, maybe on Facebook, and then I'll have to start selling copies of it, I think.
We're selling it like it is alien shots or something.
You'll see my name on the picture at the Cryptozoological Museum in Maine. Found real moose.
And then like half the other state of Maine and all of Canada are like, what is her problem?
Right. There's moose everywhere. They're hugging moose at the same time. Like, what is she talking about?
I have a pet moose in my backyard.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there it is, guys. It exists. So that was probably the most uplifting thing I'm going to tell you. My story is actually pretty dark.
Oh, well, that was good, though. Then give us a little something to love.
Yeah. Hold on to your moose plushies for the rest of the story if you've got one. If you're ready to hear a story, then I've got one for you, and it's kind of messed up.
Yes. Where is my moose plushie, though?
Get your moose plushie. Get ready. For this week's story, I am going to take you all to another place that is usually considered for its vacation-like appeal rather than its paranormal activity. This is none other than Cape Cod. And for anyone who hasn't visited the Cape yet, don't worry, you really aren't missing much.
Did you? We went to Cape Cod.
Yes, you did.
When we came for Thanksgiving, right? Okay. I was just making sure.
Right.
So was that the little town where we saw the turkeys? Is that a part of Cape Cod or was it outside of it?
Nope, you're right.
Okay.
That whole part is Cape Cod. There's just a bunch of little towns sprinkled in.
Yeah, all cute and adorable million little white mansions. Very Martha Stewart.
Oh, yes, it is very Martha Stewart. It's very like what you would expect to see in a New England town, plus beaches. There's not many beaches in my town, but if you drive 15 minutes, there's a beach, and there's lots of graveyards sprinkled along the way, But I was just kidding. Cape Cod is actually very beautiful. Lots of pristine beaches, lighthouses, loads of touristy shit, plus this fantastic gluten-free fish place called Chatham's Fish and Lobster. Wendy, I didn't get to take you there, but I think they're seasonal, so you wouldn't have gotten a chance to eat there anyways. But for me, who is gluten-free and now also finds herself dairy-free, I can go to Chatham's Fish and Lobster whenever I need to. All along the Cape, like I just suggested, are these little towns. And trust me, each of them have their own ghost stories to share. But I honed in on Provincetown for this extra creepy story. So oddly enough, Provincetown was once referred to as Helltown.
No shit.
Isn't that crazy?
So people like living there.
Yeah, they love it. But it was referred to Helltown like way, way, way back in the late 1800s. Helltown was a settlement of about 33 buildings. It had a fleet of 30 dories and a working population of about 125 fishermen. Legends say it was called Helltown because of all the helling that went on there. Quote some random captain. No, seriously, that's really what he said. Well, hang on. Because of all the helling that went on there. I should have put some more stank on it. I have a feeling that the captain was really dark and disgruntled when he said that,
Oh, yeah. He was a sailor, so...
He was a sailor. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But what does he mean? That people are, like, wild there? Or is this...
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, is helling a thing? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild there. Obviously, it's not called Helltown these days, but the name of this town was changed a couple of times until they settled on a more wholesome name, like Provincetown. But the change in the name didn't actually change whatever the hell is really going on there. See how I did that?
I saw that. That was clever.
To start out, there is the very well-known unsolved murder case in which a horrific crime scene was discovered in the sand dunes of Provincetown. To this day, it remains one of the most shocking unsolved crimes, not only on Cape Cod, but throughout the United States as well. In this case, a young woman had been brutally murdered, and in the attempt to conceal her identity, her body had been savagely mutilated. Her identity remains unknown, though she has been named the Lady of the Dunes, and this is what is known of her story. Just also as a disclaimer, I don't generally go into very gory bits in my stories. I'm just letting you know that there are a few details in here that you might find unsettling or a bit disturbing, but I cleaned it up as much as possible and I just left in the facts.
Got it.
So on the afternoon of July 26, 1974, a teenage girl was walking her dog in the remote dunes near Race Point in the Cape Cod National Seashore. She found the body and immediately alerted police. In an area just over a mile east of where the Old Harbor Life Saving Station sits today at Race Point Beach, the young woman was found resting on a green beach towel. The left side of her skull had been crushed. No murder weapon or fingerprints were found at the scene. More shocking than the murder itself was the lengths the killer went to cover it up. The woman's hands were missing, as were some of her teeth. and her head had been nearly removed as well.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't get that. I guess I need to watch more Forensic Files. I don't know how taking some of the teeth is going to help you. Do they need a whole bite to, like, identify their mark? No, I'm being serious. When they're, like, identifying people by their teeth, I don't know how they do that.
I don't know, but that's a really good point. I didn't actually look into that, but now that you mention it, it is weird that it says only some of her teeth. So maybe they knew her and knew like which teeth she had work done. I mean, I'm always bitching about my crown constantly. Everyone knows which one it is in my mouth.
Right. So they could have took those because they would be identifying.
Yeah.
And taking her hands, I guess, is like fingerprints.
Yeah.
But I guess they gave up on the head part.
I know. And here's another more to the point of the teeth. What you were mentioning is I've got these humongous choppers right here in the front. I refer to them as my donkey teeth often. So, I mean, if that was one thing, someone, maybe she had some kind of jacked up teeth that are like, they will recognize this overbite right away. And they were just like, nope, we got to get rid of this. Or it was somebody, I don't know, that knew her personally and knew which teeth she had work done on. Dentists keep records. And yeah, forensics, they definitely would have dug into those dental records to see if they could ID her. But
right.
So there had been no signs of a struggle and no drugs or alcohol were found in her system. Police believed the woman's body had been in the remote area for anywhere from 10 days to 3 weeks.
Ugh.
So sadly, the woman had no real form of identification. And all that police had found at the scene was a rubber elastic band that was in her reddish blonde hair, a pair of folded up Wrangler jeans, and a blue bandana upon which her head had been resting face down. It was a disturbing and unsettling scene, as you could clearly imagine.
Yeah, I just realized she was naked then, right?
I think she was, yeah. Her jeans were definitely not on her, and someone had taken the time to fold her jeans and fold her bandana. Another thing that made it seem kind of personal.
Yeah.
In the weeks and months which followed the ghastly discovery, as many as 30 police detectives combed the area around the murder scene with no luck in finding any clues. When looking for relatives or those who may have seen the woman in the time before her death, the police could only give a vague description. She was anywhere from 20 to 40 years old, roughly 5'6.5" about 145 pounds, having reddish blonde hair and a ponytail, and her toenails were painted pink. Besides the basic physical characteristics, there was not much else to go on. The investigators checked her description against thousands of missing persons nationwide with no luck. They found the owners of every deserted bicycle and vehicle in the area, as well as every vehicle which had legally driven out on the dunes in the weeks prior to the body being found, but still no luck. On October 19th, 1974, the unidentified victim was buried at St. Peter's Cemetery in Provincetown with a marker that simply reads, "Unidentified female body found Race Point Dunes, July 26, 1974. In 2000, her body was exhumed for the second time in an attempt to match her DNA against that of Rory Jean Kessinger, who was an inmate that had escaped from Plymouth Prison months before the murder, though that turned out to not be a match. In May 2010, new facial recognition software allowed forensic experts from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the Smithsonian Institute to create a composite of what the victim actually looked like. And then in 2018, Joe Hill, who's the son of author Stephen King, revealed that he believed that the Lady of the Dunes was very possibly a lady found in a clip from the movie Jaws, which had been filmed on Martha's Vineyard in 1974. And just as a side note, Jaws just turned 45 years old in June.
Oh.
Anyways, so Hill claimed that the unidentified woman wearing a blue bandana similar to the one found underneath the victim's head appears briefly in the movie approximately 54 minutes in. Despite the hope created by Hill's revelation, it still remained a long shot because even if the woman was an extra and not simply caught in a crowd shot, the records for extras in movies from over 40 years ago, they're spotty at best. I mean, come on, she's an extra.
Yeah, they probably paid them like cash and stuff too.
Exactly. Yep. Cash on the spot.
Yeah, definitely back then. I don't know what they do now, but I'm sure it was like, everybody that shows up, I'll give you $20 or whatever.
Right, exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say too. There were a few leads that the police checked into, and then there were those that were linked to some very prolific events in history. Not good events. Among the more famous of these potential suspects was the famed mobster Whitey Bulger. And this was due to the similarities between the victim's identity cover-up, which resembles Bulger's style, which was the teeth removal,
Oh.
And Bulger also had a connection to Provincetown. But then there was also a prison confession by a convicted murderer named Hayden Clark. Now, he said that he had actually killed the Lady of the Dunes and had evidence that the police could use, which was buried in his grandfather's garden. Unfortunately, Clark suffers from paranoid schizophrenia, so he was later cleared of his confession.
These fucking people.
Yeah, I know. Hey, wait, can I get recognition for that too? Come on, man. Chill the fuck out.
You don't know if they're mentally ill and then they are like confusing stories. That sounds like something I did or something I would do. Oh, I wish I did that. I don't know.
Right. You don't know.
Or if they're just fucking around trying to get a Coca-Cola, during the interrogation,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't really know. Basically, when I found out that's where his story ended, then I didn't look into him any further. But it could have just been as simple as, man, I'm really dying for a Coke, like you said.
Right.
Now, before I go into the next person on the list, I want to point out that unfortunately, as the years have passed by, the true identity of the Lady of the Dunes has not been identified. After the first exhumation of the body in 1980, this sadly turned into a cold case. Though today the case is in the hands of the Provincetown Police Department, Detective Meredith LeBur stated that anyone having any information regarding this case, please reach out, and all possible leads will be investigated. And if you have any information concerning the case, you contact Provincetown Police Department, Detective Meredith K. LeBur at 508-487-1212. Now, the other person that was thought to have some sort of connection to this grisly murder is that of serial killer Tony Chop Chop Costa, though he had also been cleared as a suspect in the case of the unidentified Lady in the Dunes. Tony Costa still brought something to this case which is very, very weird. Antone Charles Costa was born August 2nd, 1944 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Though Tony didn't get to know his father because he died a hero during World War II when Tony was only an infant. His father had just saved a shipmate from drowning, and then he banged his head on a coral reef and ended up drowning himself.
Ooh.
At the age of 7, Tony began telling his mother that a man was entering his room every night. He later identified a photo of this as his late father that was visiting him every night. And that's the coolest thing that I'm going to tell you about Tony, because from here on out, the story is downhill.
I mean, come on. Your dead father's making an effort to still be a part of your life. That's way better than a lot of dads out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you still turn out to be a shithead?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
I know. That is exactly what I thought too when I read that. I was like, this is a moment in your life that, many people dream could happen for them. They want to interact with their deceased parents. And this guy was just like, hey, I'm still here for you, bro. I hope everything works out. And it just didn't. As a young boy, Tony would apparently try to smother or tie up neighborhood girls.
No.
Yeah, that got dark really fast. Like I said, it's downhill.
Yeah, where do you get that idea in your head?
I don't know.
We'd never know because it's just not something that we can compute that a child would think this up.
Right. And I mean, aside from his dad not being there, it didn't seem like his mom was a bad person. She loved him to death from what I could see. She wasn't big on punishing or, she definitely wasn't big on corporal punishment, but I couldn't really see that she punished him like at all. She just kind of like, oh, you Tony. So maybe he needed something a little harsher. When he reached 16, he had broken into an apartment of a teenage girl that he had tied up 2 years previously. When the girl woke up, as he reached over her bed, she started screaming, and Tony took off running. 3 nights later, he returned and attempted to drag her down the stairs. Luckily, this time the neighbors were there and they intervened, and Tony was held until the police arrived and arrested him.
Why is he still able to get into this house that they're not taking proper measures?
I don't know.
Not to blame them.
Right.
I'm sure he was very sneaky, but shit. This shouldn't have happened twice, it seems like.
Yeah, I think this goes back to the age where people, once all of this kind of came out, then they were like, shit, we should start locking those doors.
Right. I'm sure in the first time they were like, man, he really just has a crush on you.
Yeah. She's like, let's move far, far away. So later on, he ended up getting married and he worked as a handyman in Provincetown. I know. She's like, he's just, what is it? Ambitious lover, right? He's just after me. He didn't end up marrying her, the girl that he was dragging upstairs.
Yeah, but somebody else admired that kind of attention.
Yeah, I guess. So, yeah, he got married. He had a job as kind of like a handyman, and he was working in Provincetown. But his favorite pastime was actually hanging out with the younger crowd. It became pretty well known that he always had marijuana and even had a marijuana garden that he would often take young girls to impress them. The garden was located down a long dirt road behind Pine Grove Cemetery in another town called Truro. I hope I'm saying that right. It's Truro. So I'm just going with it. It's Truro. Surprisingly, his marriage didn't last.
What? She didn't like his pot garden that he took teenagers to?
Yeah, I don't think she was down for that so much. They did have a couple of kids, and I think, again, it's the times, so I think she was trying to make this work out. When they would have fights, Tony started taking these long-ass hauls to California, right? These were his, like, peace out moments. Lady, I gotta split. You're cramping my style. Whatever. The problem is that when he was taking these long-ass trips to California, it was later discovered that the women that he had encountered along the way mysteriously went missing.
Surprise, surprise.
A few of those bodies were later found, though there was not enough evidence to tie him to their deaths. In 1968, Tony Costa is officially divorced and now living with his new girlfriend, Susan Perry. Only 1 week after she moves in with him, she disappears. Where'd she go? When he's questioned, he's like, she took off for Mexico. No, she's gone. Go find her. I have nothing to do with it, man. She just split. A few weeks later, he starts dating and sharing drugs with a lady by the name of Christine Gallant. Shortly afterwards, she's found dead in her New York City apartment bathtub. Her death being ruled a drowning/overdose. In January of 1969, Patricia Walsh and Mary Ann Wysocki take an off-season trip to Cape Cod and rent a room in a cottage in Provincetown, which just so unfortunately turned out to be the same cottage that Tony Costa was currently living in. He, of course, was very polite and helps them with their luggage when they arrive.
Oh, what a gentleman.
Right. I know. He seems so sweet. Also, he's got a marijuana garden. So he seems like the perfect guy to hang out with. They do. They hang out. And then they disappeared. And then Tony moved out. So mid-February comes, and Susan Perry's body was discovered behind Old Truro Cemetery. Her body had been cut into 8 pieces.
That he put the body near his pot farm. I mean, Wow, you're smart.
Well, that's the funny thing. He was actually supposed to be very, very smart. Like, I didn't put a lot of details in here because I didn't want to spend so much time buffing this piece of shit up. But
right.
He had a high intelligence. And then he just goes and he's just like, no, I'm just going to smoke weed and kill people. Like, what? Dude, what is wrong with you?
I don't think marijuana is supposed to do that to you, for one thing. So that's
no.
giving marijuana a bad rap.
No, right.
Also, he was getting away with it for so long. So I guess he just is a cocky motherfucker, too. And he's like, they won't know.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. His ego.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay. Her body had been cut into 8 pieces. And in the beginning of March, the bodies of Walsh, Wysocki, and Monson were found about 1.5 miles from where Perry was found. Wysocki's head had been located in a plastic bag, while Walsh was cut in half at the waist. Monson was found buried underneath Walsh and Wysocki. The investigation became a media frenzy, and the story made national and international headlines. Tony was given some pretty terrible nicknames, such as Tony Chop Chop Costa, the Cape Cod Casanova, and the Cape Cod Vampire. All while like your face, you're like, no, that's bad. That's worse.
Yeah, I am offended that they used vampire, for one thing. And yeah, the Chop Chop one is actually the best of the 3, and it's still very terrible.
It is very terrible. I don't like any of them, but you're right. I think because of, unfortunately, what he did, I guess it does actually make sense. So the district attorney, Edmund Dennis, was reporting on some of the very strange things that he had found at the crime scene. I think this is where some of these names kind of were spun from. He mentioned that the hearts of the victims were completely removed and that there had been evidence of cannibalism by the teeth marks that were found on the bones. It was discovered that in the area the bodies were found in was Tony Costa's personal marijuana growing patch, which Wendy already knew. She's like, on it. And upon search of his residence, a large amount of rope with blood stains was found in his closet. He also had the missing girl's Volkswagen in a storage unit and had just recently inquired about getting it painted. Come on, man. How dumb can you be?
Well, what else is he going to do with it, too, though?
Why was he keeping it?
I mean, I would assume to hide evidence. because he doesn't want to dump it anywhere. And then if he's going to continue to kill, I mean, he's going to start having like a junkyard in his backyard. So what
am I going to do with all these vehicles?
Right. So he's got to start doing something with them.
The weird tie-in there with the Volkswagen is that it had been seen and it was in the back of the graveyard, and someone thought that it was stolen and abandoned. So they had reported seeing it there. And when they go to, look for it, it's gone. However, they're able to tie the fact that, these girls were driving around in a yellow Volkswagen. So then suddenly it shows up in Tony Costa's storage unit. Hey, he's inquiring about getting it painted. Well, that seems awfully suspicious, sir. How did you end up with this vehicle? That's weird. So in May of 1970, Tony Costa was convicted of the murders of Marianne Wysocki and Patricia Walsh and was sentenced to life in prison at Massachusetts Walpole Correctional Institution. While in jail, Costa was diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder, and where he also decided to write his memoir titled Resurrection.
Oh, I hope nobody wants to read that.
I don't even think you can find a copy of it. I don't think it was published. I think it was just his scribblings.
Yeah, like the guards took it from him and said, yeah, Tony, okay.
Yeah, all right, we'll do something with it. Yep. Set it ablaze. I don't know. No, somebody did read it because in his book, Tony actually blamed the deaths of Walsh and Wysocki on a mysterious man named Carl. He claimed that Carl shot the woman while high on LSD, and I'm going to probably not pronounce this right. Dilaudid? I don't know. It's apparently
that's a drug. Yeah.
Okay, that's probably it. I know it's a drug, and when I said that to my husband, he's like, come on, you know what that is. They usually give it to women when they're given birth, right? I don't know. I don't remember. I was there when I gave birth, but I was in so much pain. I don't know what they were giving me. Nothing worked. So yeah, he claimed that Carl shot the women and the two of them buried the bodies together. The book also claimed that Perry and Monson died of drug overdoses and that Carl was the one to dismember them. Oddly, up until he wrote his memoir, Carl had not previously been mentioned. On May 12th, 1974, and at the age of 29, Tony Costa was found hanging from a leather belt in his cell, his death being ruled a suicide. He was laid to rest beside his mother in an unmarked grave in the St. Peter and Apostle Cemetery in Provincetown. Costa's garden is now overgrown and barren of any connection to those gruesome murders, though there is another spot which remains virtually unchanged to this day, where many curious visitors often go. It is in the woods just about a mile down the old dirt road just past the mausoleum on Pine Grove Cemetery in Truro. You know you found it when you see an old phone mounted to a tree. A YouTuber by the name of Capecast filmed his exploration of the area and posted a video he shot of him exploring the woods and finding of the creepy marker. The telephone has been completely gutted, and on one side of the phone, someone wrote Tony Chop Chop's phone. To get to it, you must first pass by the old brick crypt where the grisly dismembering of the victims' bodies actually took place. It's still there. The building still stands and now has a wooden, unlocked door to allow those looking to peek inside the opportunity to do so without any further vandalization.
I guess I get that, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, okay, dummies, you want it, go for it. The Pine Grove Cemetery is Truro's second oldest cemetery, having been created in 1799. In 2007, the New England Society of Paranormal Investigators researched the location. They received answers to several questions using a K2 meter and through EVPs. They also reported having sudden power loss of camera batteries and a microphone, which all seemed to coincide with cold spots that moved through the area. Now, their information is out there. You can find that, but I wasn't able to actually see any videos or see any pictures, so I don't have any evidence to share with you. But it's interesting that someone was out there trying to make a connection and that they felt that they were able to get some kind of contact. Since I said the graveyard is old as fuck, there are other spirits that are said to haunt the location. I didn't put them in my story because my story is super long as usual, but just know there are other spirits roaming around.
There's some shit going on there. Make sure you say hi to everybody when you show up.
Yes, that's the nice way to do it. Yes. But then there is another location tied to Tony Costa that is also reported to be haunted. This would be the Victoria House, which stands at 5 Standish Street. And because of its connection to these murders, it has been dubbed the Murder House of Provincetown. It was confirmed that Tony Costa had been renting a room at the guest house here when he was introduced to the other guests by the landlady. Mrs. Patricia Morton now says the young women checked in for a night in January, but they never checked out. Costa had stayed in room 4, and within this room, the damning piece of evidence was found, which ultimately landed Costa in jail with a life sentence. According to a former manager at the Victoria House, they would hear disembodied whispers throughout the guest house and the occasional scream of a female voice coming from room 4. Many tend to think that the activity here is mostly residual. Author of Paranormal Provincetown, Sam Baltrusis, said that of all the haunted locations on the Cape, his favorite location is the Victoria House. He said that he spent a night in the inn for a magazine assignment. Unrelated, completely. He reported, it's so weird. He was just like, this looks like a great, maybe it was even cheap. It was like, yep, awesome. Close enough to the pizza place that I like, and the beach is right there. But no, he reported hearing what sounded like a female scream coming from his closet inside room number 4. Can you imagine not even being there for the paranormal and being like, hello, why is there someone in my closet? You go, you look, and there's nobody there, and you're like, what was in that pizza? What the hell?
That is the reason why people check out of hotels in the middle of the night.
Yes.
They're like, yeah, no, I didn't come here for that.
For all of that. Keep that shit. You either have some serious problems with your mice.
They're huge.
They're huge. And they are hungry. Because that one was screaming. But so he didn't know anything about it. For this reason, hearing that scream in the closet in the middle of the night, he decided to dig into the hotel's backstory. At that time, it was not common knowledge that the serial killer met his victims in that hotel before murdering them and burying them in Truro. I mean, it was knowledge as far as the police go, right?
Right.
But it wasn't like, hey, you know what the fuck happened here? So these extreme incidents seem to have really left their mark on the old Cape Cod bed and breakfast, as well as the deep in the woods creepy graveyard. But what really hit me about the story was the shocking coincidence that a serial killer had been captured on Cape Cod shortly before the body of an unidentified woman, only now known as the Lady in the Dunes, had been found. And I can easily see why he was a suspect at the time. Now, I believe he was ruled out because of the timeline and, of course, the lack of evidence. The body of the woman known as the Lady of the Dunes was found in July of 1974. And at that time, investigators estimated that her body had only been out there for a few weeks before being found. Tony Costa had already been sentenced to life in jail by May of 1970. Mm-hmm. So didn't really fit timeline-wise, that it could have been him. But damn, if it didn't sure seem like his MO.
Yeah, really. That's even more terrifying that they lock him up and they think, well, we took care of that. And then there's just like someone else on the loose.
Exactly.
This is Helltown.
This is Helltown. And the more I look into Helltown, Provincetown, the more I start to see that this place is pretty messed up. Aside from these notable murders, there have been hundreds of others, which has led Provincetown to receive its latest nickname, the murder capital of Massachusetts. Oh, want to go on vacation?
I would just not want to live here.
No, not at all. The thing that, it just bugged me. This is Cape Cod, right? It is like a vacation town. I knew about Cape Cod as a young child from the movie Splash. Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah. It's a classic. Yes. It's amazing. Cape Cod is supposed to be magical. There are supposed to be mermaids here. Mermaids, not murders. Come on. No, the real Cape Cod has some very dark secrets. But since I'm on the subject, I might as well throw in a cryptid to try and recover from this extremely dark story. Way, way back when we were still calling Provincetown Helltown, a merman was spotted off the coast of Nantucket. The year was 1714, and a minister named Valentine was sailing past Nantucket's Great Point when all this went down. And here is a quote from the Good Reverend's journal. It appeared like a sailor or a man sitting on something, and more like a sailor, as on its head there appeared to be something like an old English cap of some color. We all agreed he must be some shipwrecked person. After some time, I begged the captain to steer the ship more directly towards him.
Don't get closer.
Right, come on.
This ain't a whale watching tour, dude.
We had got within a ship's length of him when the people on the forecastle made such a noise that he plunged down head foremost and got presently out of sight. The man who was on watch at the masthead declared that he had a monstrous long tail.
Was that his tail?
I could just imagine how the mood on board that ship changed when suddenly the let's go rescue the shipwrecked sailor vibe switched to the what the fuck, that dude's got a fishtail.
You get closer and closer. You're trying to save him, and then you see you don't know what it is. You're like, never mind. You just pretend like you didn't mean to curve that way.
Right. I mean, I don't think boats have brakes, but it's like water brakes. Turn the other way now. The other direction. I made a mistake. The good Reverend's like looking for his whiskey. Oh my God. So that may not have been the only sighting of a mer person near Nantucket. According to folklorist Edward Rowe Snow, the keeper of Great Point's lighthouse claimed to have seen something humanoid crawling out of the ocean and head into the nearby Cascada Woods in the early 1900s. The locals had also apparently claimed to have seen signs of something odd living in the same forest. The Cascada Woods are super ancient and have not been logged since 1711, which makes this the perfect spot for some serious cryptid real estate.
Absolutely. So it came out of the water and it's living on land like a frogman.
Like a frogman or a lizard man.
Yes, of course. Well, I don't know. Do they get in the water like? I don't know. Sure.
I don't know. The water's really cold. Really cold up there. But so that's all that I had on those particular stories. However, I found oodles more about other little towns all along Cape Cod. Like I said, each of them having their own fantastic little stories. So I really hope that you want to hear more on Cape Cod one day because I've already researched it and I've already got plenty to tell you. So that's my story. And until I've got more for you, please follow us on our socials. On Instagram, we are COTN_paranormal. And on Facebook and Twitter, you'll find us as COTN Paranormal. All one word. But if you're not down with all that jazz, we hear you. Just be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode. Also, if you're into bringing the spiritual side into your home or into the homes of others, please visit our Etsy shop. It is the Spirit Emporium. We have everything from podcast teas to banishing oils, protection kits, candles, and many other one-of-a-kind handmade products. Don't see what you're looking for? Let us know. We will try to pull it out of our bag of tricks just for you. Oh, man. So there was actually so much about this area that I just couldn't cover because I'm limited on my time here for the podcast. And I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me drone on for hours upon hours upon hours, but I could totally do it. So if there's something that I missed, write to us at creaturesthenightparanormal@gmail.com and let me know. And maybe we'll do a story about it someday as well. I'll try to post everything and anything that I can related to the story on Instagram. But, I'm limited. I've got some pictures, obviously, of the Victoria House and the Truro Cemetery where the infamous marijuana garden was. It's so weird.
How many potheads do you think go back there just looking for the marijuana? Like,
probably.
They're just, what? There's an abandoned marijuana garden. They don't even know it was like fertilized with bodies.
Ooh, with bodies. No. Right? But that's the bad side. So they go back there for the lore. They're going to look for that telephone and they're going to maybe do some pot treasure investigating of their own. Maybe they'll find that one plant that's still there. They get back there. They have to go through all of that dark wooded area first. Maybe see something creepy crawling around and maybe run into a ghost. So, I would like to explore it just because I'm way into creepy stuff and the lore and the paranormal aspect too. And besides, there's not really, like I said, enough evidence out there for me to show you. So I'd like to get my own someday and be like, yep, see, I talked to so-and-so and here's the EVPs.
Oh yeah. I want to see this phone. It sounds kind of lame, but but it sounds so weird as well. Like, who the fuck put this here? I have to see it for myself. Like, I'd have to go back there to be like, yep, that's a phone. There you go.
I had a picture of it loaded, but when I tried to actually put it up behind me, it blurred it out so you couldn't see it. There's the mausoleum. That's the wooden door. That's like, yeah, you can like actually just scooch it on open and look inside. There's a lot of graffiti. You know what they like to draw on walls.
Penis shots.
There's some pictures in there. That is, let's see. Oh, I had this one that I wanted to show you. This was my favorite town. Can you read the name on the boat back there?
No, I can't.
This is Helltown.
Oh, yeah, it does. I can make it out now.
That's in Cape Cod. Someone actually was like, yeah, I'm going to be true to my roots. And they named their boat.
Yeah.
OG, for real.
If I had a boat, I'd want to name it Helltown. That's pretty cool.
pretty badass. I'd like to find him. I wonder if he's like, what was that license plate you saw the other day? Hot tamale.
Oh yeah, hot tamale. Yeah. And it was like a 75-year-old man.
Yeah, right.
Driving. I was like, is this your niece's car? What is going on here? No, he just thinks he's spicy.
I love it. I love a spicy old man too. But it's funny. I can envision like Hot Tamale driving around Helltown, but he's got like one of those sweet old captain's hats. He probably has a scarf tied to one side.
Oh, yeah.
Sipping on a daiquiri while he's driving around in his Helltown boat.
He's super fun, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I loved this story. I mean, as much as you can love hearing murder stories, which is really sick to say, I know, but it's that whole like to solve a mystery type thing that you're listening to it, not in appreciation of the gory details or the sad events that happen to these victims, but you're looking for the holes. What did they miss? Like, I think I'm some fucking detective, you know? But they really sound like with the Dunes murder that they tried to comb as much as they can. And shit, if that body sit there for 2 to 3 weeks in sand, how the fuck do you look for evidence? I'm sure it's fucking lost.
I know. You're right.
Oh, and that guy totally fit the MO. How devastating to be like, oh no, yeah, he was already in prison. There's some other psycho out here. It's Carl.
That's right. So, you know, when you said earlier, we're talking about Hayden. I don't remember his last name, but he was the murderer who confessed to murdering the Lady of the Dunes. And we were like, the fuck would you do that? So like maybe Carl wasn't a figure of his imagination. You know, maybe Tony Costa didn't want to let on that information until he's like, well, shit, I really actually don't like jail as much as I thought I was going to like it. It's just not. Maybe I should tell him the truth. Maybe it was Carl. And maybe that's why he didn't mention it until later on. Maybe Carl did really exist. I'm just saying. And because all of these things happened in the same area and these women all seemed to kind of have the same, not deformities, they were all found the same.
It was the same MO. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking into this case and I'm like, who the hell's Tony Chop Chop Costa? Let me read. I'm like, this is him. He did it. Come on, let's reopen this case. Oh, he killed himself in jail and he was already arrested before they fit there. So that doesn't fit. But yeah, then there's this imaginary Carl. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think he was onto something. I think we should have investigated that a little bit more. I don't know.
What if they had convinced him that Carl wasn't real? And so he's like, oh, I guess he wasn't real, or I don't really know what to believe. And Carl was like a real person this whole time. Who knows? We're just making up stories.
I know.
But yeah, you had told me twice that he wasn't the one that did it, and they've already cleared him. And I was like, nah, bitch, he lied about something. It was him.
It was him.
And then you're like, no, he was already in jail. Oh, I guess that is an alibi.
I had to reiterate that at the end of the story for that fact because I am so certain that he was the killer. And then I'm like, no, he's dead. And then they found her. Like, what? No, what? Wait, maybe they were wrong about how long she had been out there. I'm not trying to knock anyone's jobs. Forensic people, you do a fantastic job. You have a very, very hard job. So I'm not going to go out there and just say, you didn't do your job right. But I mean, maybe the timing was off. Maybe she had been sitting out there for a little bit longer, or maybe she had been kept and discarded there.
Yeah. So I was about to say, well, there could have been some atmosphere change that for some odd reason, because that's happened before, preserved the body. And that's why it was harder for them to predict when she was actually murdered. But also at the same time, yeah, there could have just been another person.
Yeah, there could have just been another person. Apparently, there's a lot of bad shit on Cape Cod. Here's a shot of her grave.
Oh.
The very plain marker that basically just says, we don't know who she is. She's laid to rest here.
I wish somebody like more poetic would have come up with something a little nicer, like unknown angel or something. That's not very good, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what the saddest thing is that there was not a family member looking for her. So this is probably someone that maybe didn't have a good upbringing and they just exited out of it for themselves and they were taking care of themselves. They're on the road by themselves. This independent woman, she's going to do it. But it's tough out there, and you're really vulnerable when you are alone.
You're very vulnerable when you're alone. And when Stephen King's son had made that connection, like I was just in love with it. Because when you see her, the woman walking in the clip with her blue bandana and her blue outfit on, you're like, that's her. Like you get the same vibe he must have gotten when he saw it. And you know what? I think he said that he saw that on an Unsolved Mysteries. And he was just watching Jaws with his kids because it's one of his favorite movies. And when she walked by, it was just like he had just seen the Unsolved Mysteries. It just clicked. He's like, that's her. How come nobody else is? That's her. Guys, come on. Find her. She's right there.
And the thing is that's a pretty public story that he said that.
Yeah.
So if that woman is still alive or family members are still alive that was in the Jaws movie, I mean, wouldn't they have come forward and said, no, that's my Aunt Susan. You know, she just passed away last year. God rest her soul. Or whatever, something like that. But nobody came forward and go, no, that's me, dummy.
Yeah. I mean, look, even if I was in a movie for 5 seconds, that would be posted everywhere. You would know it. It will be on my tombstone. It would be on my social media. Chris was in Jaws for 2 seconds. That's right.
That'd be a pretty epic movie. If you were like in like not a great movie, maybe you wouldn't necessarily like, no, I didn't. Never mind. I wasn't there. But
I wasn't in Garfield the Return. No.
Appreciate Garfield. Don't knock it.
Well, Bill Murray does have to do all of the voices because he's under contract. He can't get out of it. So I'm a Garfield fan as well.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's why I agree with that statement. I mean, unless she just went on to become a huge star and she doesn't want to be like, no, I wasn't in that movie. And she just doesn't want to let on.
Who would not want to be in Jaws?
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe everybody doesn't know that story. I guess you have to somewhat be interested in Stephen King to see it in the headlines. Stephen King's son said this. If you're not into those things, I guess it could pass you up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe she hasn't seen it and her family members haven't seen it. But, I mean, we heard this, it was a couple of years ago or a year ago or I don't know.
I think it was 2018. Yeah, so it was a couple of years ago.
So, I mean, it should have filtered through enough. I think that some family members should have came forward at this point and said, I know that chick. Yeah. So he might be on to something. But again, still really sad that she had nobody looking out for her.
I know. That's heartbreaking. I couldn't imagine not knowing where my child went. So either her family was gone and she was on her own. You know, maybe mom and dad did pass away at a young age and she was just trying to make a living, trying to do her own thing, or she skipped town. Maybe she just didn't have a good upbringing and decided, hey, I'm peacing out of this situation. And they never heard from her again. So it is really sad. It's very tragic. It is a story that I've been fascinated by for a really long time, being that I'm in the area, being that it was an unsolved mystery. Obviously, you know, the Jaws tie-in. I mean, that was just, everyone knows that movie. So I was looking for some paranormal aspect to tie into the Lady of the Dunes. I wasn't able to find any, and I'm happy to not be able to find any because to me that means that she's either not haunting any of these areas or she is actually resting in peace.
Yeah, well, she deserves that, so that is good.
Yeah.
One little silly side note, my niece, who's 20 now, came to visit, and, you know, Unsolved Mysteries is making, like, new episodes on Netflix or something. It's got to be Netflix, because I think I saw it the other day. Well...
Oh, you haven't seen any of them?
You know, I don't get enough time to watch TV, so no, I haven't seen it. But... Okay. She was telling me, I was so proud of her. She was telling me all these things that she had learned from TikTok videos mostly, but they were all conspiracy themed. And she was talking about the real Area 51s and the Arctic and stuff like that. I'm like, I knew I raised you right. I was so proud of her until she said, oh my God, have you seen this new show on Netflix called Unsolved Mysteries? It's so good. And I was like,
no.
Yeah. No, they're not new necessarily. I mean, those are new episodes, but that's a pretty old concept.
Yeah, we've been watching them with dinner because I've mentioned that before. That's what we do. We watch something while we're eating dinner, but it's good. It's still not like the Unsolved Mysteries. Nothing will ever be the Unsolved Mysteries, but...
Yeah. Well, who is our favorite? Robert Stack, right?
Yes.
That's his name?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They do pay homage to him in the opener of the show, so you'll like that.
I will watch it eventually, but I thought that was real adorable that she was all excited about it.
I'm glad that she's into it. You know, she's always been like one of our fans too. Like when we were first starting out 10 years ago and she was so like, oh my God.
Yeah.
She couldn't wait to see what we would load on the website. Remember, she would be showing her friends. Like, she's like, you guys are so cool. I'm like, oh, you're so adorable. Please stay with us forever.
My niece and my nephews, they are much bigger fans than my actual children. So
I know. Yeah, my son could care less.
They're always like, I want to go with you. And then you're so cool, Aunt Ninny. And I'm like, yeah, they like me. I don't know what's wrong with my children, but I thought that was adorable. I'm really proud of the direction that she's going with her taste and interest.
Nice. See, I could see her wanting to move out to Arizona because there's a lot of phenomenon that happens out there.
I stressed that a lot while she was here. But yeah, I loved your story. Like I said, it had all the mystery that you like of true crime, and it had tastes a little paranormal here and there. I totally thought you were going to go deeper into Carl, which we just can't because the information's not there. But I thought it was going to turn into like a Beautiful Minds scenario.
Oh.
But now I'm starting to think Carl might have been a real person, which is even darker and scarier.
It is.
Yeah, I really appreciated this story. I had heard of her, never heard of Mr. Chop Chop there at all. Good. So that was interesting.
Nice.
And yeah, it sucks that we really don't have any leads on her case, but that's tough. The location that they left her at and that she was there for so long. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. Just like I said earlier in the story, they are still open to suggestions and any new leads. So I guess I'll just end it with one more time. If anybody has any information on the case, just contact the Provincetown Police Department. The detective that is working it, his name is Meredith K. Lubber, 508-487-1212. They have an email address too. It's just there's a lot of spelling. So hold on. Stay with me. It's MLOBUR. That's how you spell his last name. Lober at provincetown-ma.gov. So there it is.
That's awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
All
awesome.
Right.
That's all I got then.
Bye.
Bye.